Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever had that slightly weird feeling when a company seems to know exactly what you need, maybe even before you've quite realized it yourself? Like you're just thinking your coffee maker is on its last legs and bam, there's an ad, a discount on a new model. Or maybe your favorite shop sends an offer just as you're about to run out of something. It feels, well, less like chance, more like someone's really paying attention. So today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, how businesses use all that raw data from, their everyday operations to actually get to know you, the customer.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, isn't just that they collect data, but how these simple transactions, how they turn into these incredibly powerful, strategic insights. We're going to look at that whole journey, from just swiping a basic loyalty card all the way to these really sophisticated strategies that aim to understand and, well, serve each of us as individuals. Our mission here is really to give you a kind of shortcut, to understand the mechanics behind how they build your profile, what that means for you, and that tricky balance between personalization and, privacy. And these insights, just so you know, they come straight from people in the industry. Like we're drawing on the perspective of someone who actually heads up data management at a big supermarket chain, gives it that real world grounding.
That's a great way to put it. And yeah, for a lot of us, that journey starts with something super common, right? Probably sitting in your wallet right now, the loyalty card. Let's think about, say, John, this head of data at the supermarket. He'd probably tell you these cards, well, they're offered as a way to collect points. Yeah, redeem them later, maybe get discounts. On the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, just a perk for being a regular. A little thank you. But under that simple transaction, there's something much bigger going on, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. It's more than just points. It's kind of an implicit agreement you're making. You trade a small discount, essentially, for letting them keep a detailed record of your habits. So while we're busy collecting points, these cards, they're handing over masses of really granular data about customers. It's not just about what everyone's buying in general. It lets them track what each specific person buys. And crucially, how often they buy it, when, what combinations of things. They take all that purchase history, every item, every transaction time, and they enrich their main database with it. The real gold isn't just what you buy, it's the patterns, like always buying a certain brand of coffee or shopping at 8 p.m. on Tuesdays, or maybe even stopping buying something. That could signal a life change, right? These tiny signals, invisible normally, that's what they're after.
Okay, so they gather these like mountains of data. But what's the next step for a business like John's Supermarket? How do they actually sift through all that raw info to find something useful? Is there a specific method, a technique to turn all that noise into something they can act on?
Definitely. Once they have this huge pile of data, they bring in something called data mining. Think of it like super advanced pattern spotting. You've got these really sophisticated algorithms, and they churn through enormous data sets, looking for correlations, weird outliers, trends, stuff you'd never spot just by looking. They use really powerful computers, often crunching data stored in these massive data warehouses. And these warehouses, they're not just for storage. They're built for analysis, for running complex queries across loads of historical data. It's quite different from the systems that just handle the day-to-day sales, you see. The whole point is extracting actual intelligence from just, well, sheer volume.
Right, that makes sense. So it's not just a big digital filing cabinet, it's an analysis engine. And what sort of the patterns are they actually looking for?
Exactly. The core idea of data mining is finding those particular patterns in how we behave as consumers, identifying trends, connections, things that link together that maybe aren't obvious on the surface. And this lets businesses then target specific types of customers much, much more precisely. They're essentially building these incredibly detailed consumer profiles. John, from the supermarket, he gave a really clear example. If their system sees someone has bought wine pretty consistently in the past, it flags that pattern. Then, specific offers get sent directly to that customer. Reduced prices on future wine purchases. It's that direct link. Past behavior triggering a tailored future offer.
And I bet as you're hearing this, you're probably thinking of times you've had similar offers, right? I know I have.
Yeah.
That weird feeling when you buy, I don't know, a new pet carrier online,
Yeah.
and suddenly your social media is just full of ads for fancy dog beds.
Yeah.
It's useful, yeah, but also a little bit unsettling. Which brings up a really important point, something I know people worry about. With all this targeting, all this tracking, what about privacy? Where's the line?
Ah, yes. This is where it gets really, really critical. Because while companies obviously want to use these insights, they're walking through a minefield. Ethically, legally, it's a very delicate balance. Customer trust is everything. For John's supermarket, it's not just about following the letter of data protection laws like GDPR over in Europe or CCPA in California. It's also constantly thinking about that creepiness factor. There's a very fine line between being helpful and personalized and making someone feel like they're being watched. So, for instance, they might use data mining to spot big trends like more people buying plant-based stuff in a certain area. But they have to do that without identifying the individuals in that trend unless those people have explicitly said okay to using their data personally for that. It's about protecting privacy even while you're getting those broader market insights.
Right, the legal stuff is the absolute minimum, I agree. But what about beyond that? Are there specific, like, ethical knots John and his team have to untangle? Where does predicting what someone needs tip over into maybe manipulating what they choose?
That's a really sharp point. The law sets the floor, but the ethics often go higher. For example, based on buying patterns, a company might figure out someone's expecting a baby, or maybe going through another big life change, like an elderly parent moving in. Now, they could start sending offers for baby things or assisted living supplies, but they have to think really carefully. Does that feel intrusive? Does it feel like they're exploiting a situation? Transparency is just vital here. Companies absolutely have to be upfront about how they handle data, what they collect, why they collect it, and crucially give people easy ways to see, check, and control their own information. That's not just being nice, it's a fundamental right, and it's key to keeping that trust. Lose that, and all the clever personalization just backfires.
So, putting it all together, what does this mean for the bigger picture? The relationship between a business and, well, you. All this data gathering, the mining.
Yeah.
From that first loyalty card swipe to these massive computers crunching numbers, it all fits under this bigger umbrella, right? Customer relationship management, CRM. Which basically means getting to know your customers, but like on a whole other level.
Exactly. And the ultimate aim, the really ambitious goal behind all the CRM activity, it's dealing with customers as actual individuals, not just based on broad categories like age or where they live, but really recognizing and responding to each person's specific needs, their preferences, down to the tiny details. People even talk about one-to-one marketing or segment of one marketing. The idea is treating every single customer like they're their own unique market. Tailored interactions, tailored offers. Now, that's the dream, the ideal. And honestly, we're still quite a long way from achieving that perfectly everywhere. It's definitely a journey, not somewhere we've fully arrived yet. And it's got some major challenges.
That segment of one idea, it sounds incredibly ambitious, almost futuristic.
Yeah.
Are there companies out there now, though, that are really trying to do this, kind of showing us what might be possible, even if it's not perfect yet?
Oh, absolutely. Dell, the computer maker, is a classic example often brought up. They really push the boundaries with something called mass customization. Yeah. So instead of just churning out millions of identical computers and hoping people buy them, Dell lets you, the individual customer, configure your own machine. You go online, you pick the exact processor you want, how much RAM, the hard drive size, the graphics card, all of it, tailored precisely to what you need or want. It's a really clever way to bridge that gap, isn't it, between efficient mass production and really meeting individual needs.
That is fascinating. It really does put the customer in control, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But wow, making that happen on a huge industrial scale must be unbelievably complex behind the curtain.
Oh, it absolutely is. Mass customization, it sounds great and it is impressive. But yeah, the complexity is huge. For someone like Dell, it means needing this incredibly sophisticated, really agile supply chain. They have to source tons of different components, often from all over the world, from many suppliers. Your product design has to be modular, right? So parts can be swapped easily. And then you need real-time inventory tracking and super efficient manufacturing. Processes that can handle building unique machines one after another without completely losing those cost savings you get from scale. They're juggling millions of unique orders while trying to stay cost effective. It's a constant balancing act. It needs massive investment in automation, prediction, logistics, you name it. Another great example, but different, is streaming services. Think Netflix or Spotify. They aren't customizing the actual movie or song, obviously, but they're recommendation engines. Those are masterpieces of segment of one. They build a unique feed of shows or music just for you based entirely on what you've watched or listened to before. And they're constantly learning, adapting to your tastes as they change. That's a really powerful kind of personal service, too.
That's a great comparison, actually. Brings it right into something most of us use every day. And the implications for you, listening now, are pretty significant when you think about it. Imagine a future where almost everything, products, services, they're increasingly tailored just for you, based on your preferences, your past actions, maybe even predicting what you'll need next. It could mean less time wasted sorting through stuff that's irrelevant, and more of what actually resonates with you across, well, pretty much everything you buy or do. So today, we've kind of traced that line, haven't we? From that simple loyalty card in your purse or wallet, all the way to these complex algorithms and serious computing power the businesses use to create these very personalized experiences for you. We've seen how the data gets collected, how it's meticulously mined for those hidden patterns, and then used strategically to try and build deeper relationships with customers. And really importantly, we've touched on those crucial boundaries: privacy, data protection. The lines companies absolutely have to respect in this data world.
Yeah, and if you zoom out, look at the bigger picture, this whole shift. From treating customers like this big anonymous crowd to understanding them as unique individuals driven by data, it's fundamentally changing how we interact with brands, with services every single day. It's not just about selling anymore. It's about anticipating needs, offering relevant stuff, and ideally building real long-term value for both the customer and the company. This move towards hyper-personalized commerce, it's really shaking up the whole market.
So maybe the next time you get one of those special offers or a recommendation that feels almost too spot on, just take a second. Think about that invisible journey your data probably took to bring that message to you. Does knowing a bit about that process make you feel more seen, like companies actually get you? Or does it maybe make you feel a bit more tracked? Raising questions about privacy, about control, what really stands out to you about this future where everything is becoming so personalized?
Something to think about, definitely. Reflect on your own experiences, how this might shift your perspective on all those digital interactions we have now.